Hi everybody. Today I'm going to talk to you about a very disputed topic, but one that's become more and more popular as more and more evidence shows up. Now I'm talking about the hollow earth theory. Now of course I can't prove the earth's hollow. Have I been there? No. Have I seen it? No. But I have a feeling it makes sense. And I've made videos about it before. We're doing some experiments some 3 years ago showing that you can pretty much prove the earth is hollow. And if it's hollow, are there entrances into the hollow earth? What is the purpose of the inner earth? And if the earth is hollow, what about the rest of the planets? What about the sun? Are all the celestial bodies hollow? Well, it's a big debate among a lot of people, and there are millions of people who already believe for one reason or the other the earth's hollow. I happen to be one of them. And I think it makes a lot more sense seeing the earth as hollow. But right now, I want to bring your attention to the fact that, well, I've written 9 books, 2 of them about the paranormal and the extraordinary and the supernatural, Out the Bottomless Pit, books 1 and 2. Out the Bottomless Pit 2 just came out a couple of months ago. But I've also produced 7 insights books, which are based on apocryphal books. But I didn't know when I started working at apocryphal books that I was be confronted with chapter after chapter that seems to indicate that the earth is hollow. And today I was reading in my book Jubilee's Insights, and I came across something quite outstanding. Now I want to point out to you that for those of you who have been to university and college, studied things like I have, like science and geography and history, and all these interesting topics, one of the first things to realize is a lot of what you're taught is incorrect information. Or should we say, it's incomplete. Rather like as if you were showing somebody a normal map, when actually the picture hasn't just 2 dimensions, but 3. And if you only see the 2-dimensional side of things, you don't get the depth of things. Well, I think it's the same with this physical life as related to other dimensions around us, which science is proving more and more that there are many other dimensions. And I'm convinced from science, from studying science and physics and mathematics and gravity, and Sir Isaac Newton's laws on gravity, I believe the earth is indeed hollow. And there's been many experiments they've done, and sometimes they made experiments, for example, with the moon. And the astronauts, they dropped some of the former spaceships back onto the moon, and they said the moon was ringing like a bell. Why would it be like that unless the moon is also hollow? That's not so strange to me. I think it's a far more efficient system that God would create the planet's hollow. And it's been proven by different explorers. But more important than the knowledge of is it hollow, is it solid, is it flat, more important than that is to know that we're all in a very big spiritual warfare. And you've got very strong forces of darkness that are always hiding everything. They're trying to keep back from us the truth about everything. And so you're only told the superficial story, the 2-dimensional story, not the 3-dimensional story, so to speak. But interestingly, going back in time, in the book of Jubilees, at the time of Noah, my theory is, like I say, I can't prove it, I wasn't there. I believe that Adam and Eve were created inside a hollow earth. I believe the Garden of Eden was inside there. You'll see it in my books, in my Insights books. I believe the Insights books, which are based on the Apocryphal books, back it up too. The earth is hollow. And it makes perfect sense. It's like the earth was like the womb or cradle of civilization. That's what I believe. But cut a long story short, I think Adam and Eve and the Garden of Eden was inside the earth. And I believe mankind was there until the time of the flood. And I explained in my books, according to the book of Enoch. And that's why I would say you need to know the Apocryphal books, including the old Hebrew books like Book of Enoch, Jasher, Jubilees, because it gives such incredible depth of information. The Bible is great for the basics, but it doesn't give you this kind of in-depth information, with the exception of the book of Job and the book of Psalms, which do give a lot more information. But outside of Psalms and the book of Job also indicates the earth as being hollow. I won't go into the details where exactly, but it does, for those who've got eyes to see and ears to hear. There are other places in the Bible too that indicate the earth is hollow, and there are peoples living at the bottom of the ocean and peoples living inside the earth. Stuff like that. If you read, you'll find it. But that isn't the main thing. What I was overwhelmed with was studying the book of Jubilees, one chapter, right after the flood, when Noah was dividing up the land for his 3 sons. And then I find out some of the lands mentioned are not lands on the outer surface at all. The seas and lands that don't make sense, don't have anything similar to what the world looks like today. I also found out that in Genesis, when it talks about the Garden of Eden and 3 rivers running through it, well, one of those rivers is non-existent today. I mean, totally non-existent, which is very strange when it talks about Tigris and Euphrates, but the third one does not exist. Another one, I think there's a 4th one as well. 4 of them. I thought, well, that's very odd. How come 2 of the 4 rivers don't exist today at all? Not at all. And yet they try to tell us that the Garden of Eden was somewhere in Iraq. I don't buy it. And I'll tell you one of the reasons I don't buy it. Because of the flood, everything changed. Before the flood, the topography of the earth itself, whether on the outside or if there's an inner earth on the inside, all changed. Mountain ranges, the rivers, the streams, the seas. And according to the book of Enoch and 2nd Esdras, they both say the same thing. That when God created the planet, only 1/7 of the planet was oceans. The rest was all land. And that, if there was an inner earth, then it applied to the inner earth and the outer earth. Which means that if you were created on the inner earth, like Adam and Eve say, for sake of argument, and Noah, you wouldn't have been able to get easily from the inner earth to the outer earth, as far as human beings were concerned. I have another theory what happened to the fallen angels and their sons of giants. I think they could get to the outer surface, and I think they were the ones who formed those societies like ancient Atlantis, Lemuria and Mu on the outer surface, when mankind was still living on the inner surface. And that's where all the gods and goddesses came from. And I think a lot of their populations were probably people they dragged off to fill up their empires on the outer surface of the earth. But I think that Noah and his sons didn't come to the outer surface until the Great Flood, when finally there was enough water inside the earth to be able to wash out through the entrance of the North-South Pole to the outer surface. But I want to point out there's something very mysterious about this planet, as others have pointed out. You look into those who know a lot about the hollow earth and you'll see it. But they also mentioned something odd. They said that the inner earth is like a reflection of the outer surface. And you think, wait a minute, how can that be? What's a typical example? Well, if you study the Jewish books, they'll give you a lot of information from the Torah and also from some of the mystical Jewish books. You'll find out it explains something very odd. If you know the apocryphal book of the lost books Adam and Eve, which I covered in my book Eden Insights, you know about the Cave of Treasures being on the same mountain where the Garden of Eden originally was. And that's where Adam and Eve spent most of their time living, in the Cave of Treasures. And they were buried in this Cave of Treasures. So were some of their descendants, a lot of them. But that's where this strange paranormal thing begins, because we find out later, on the outer surface, when Abraham died, he bought this cave, Machpelah, where he buried Sarah, his wife. And the strange thing is, there are stories, ancient Hebrew, that when Abraham explored the cave, he found out it led off into another cave, a double cave. And there are books that say he found in the cave Adam and Eve. Now, how is such a thing like that possible? How is such a thing like that possible? I know it's a big mystery, but there's some link apparently between the outer surface of the earth and the inner surface of the earth. And Machpelah, which is about 20 miles south of Jerusalem, if I'm not in Israel, links with the cave of treasures on the inside of the earth, where Adam and Eve were buried. Now, how Abraham could see them, I don't know. It suggests, and others have said the same, there's some sort of portal. Oh yeah, portals don't get shocked by portals. Science is finding portals now. If you read in the book of Enoch, God says, when I first created the earth, before the portals of the earth were in place, God has made portals. An example that you've heard of is like the Bermuda Triangle. It's some sort of dimensional shift for the purpose of moving through physical objects like the surface of the earth. There are portals. There were portals. And I believe that there were 12 portals, like Bermuda Triangle type things, that went from the inner earth to the outer earth. And he got fritzed up in time because they became under the sea instead of on the land with time. But that's a big topic. So I cover this in my books, Out of the Bottomless Pit 1 and 2. But there's a lot more to it than just Bermuda Triangles. It's the way God created things originally. There are some sort of time, distance, dimensional portals. And the good question is, how far do they go? There's a lot of people talk about these things today. They say there are portals or tunnels from under the pyramids right into the center of the earth. There are tunnels or portals from places like Peru in the mountains to the center of the earth. Same in Tibet. In fact, you've got them all over the place. The question is why? What are they doing now? We also happen to know now you can prove that there used to be a very advanced technology on this planet. Now, I don't personally see it as aliens that came here from Orion or as others think. No, I think it was to do with what Genesis 6 says in the Bible, that the angels of God came down, saw the women very beautiful, and some of them fell and started making love with the women down here, and the women gave birth to giants. And those giants who were sons of fallen angels had powers. They were not just massive giants, but they had a lot of the powers of their fathers. I couldn't tell you what powers today. We can only guess today. But they had lots of powers. And I believe it was them who built a lot of the strange structures on this planet. You know, the massive buildings you find all over the planet, everywhere. Oh yeah, I know, Smithsonian, and they try to hide everything and say it didn't happen, because giants and what the Bible says in Genesis 6 doesn't fit into the paradigm of modern science and evolution, and that man is progressing and going forward and getting bigger and stronger, when it's all a load of rubbish. You can prove the opposite's true. And the angel said to Ezra in the book of 2nd Esdras that mankind is getting smaller and weaker as time goes by. You know, he's not getting stronger and taller and bigger and all. It's a load of rubbish. And you'll find so much scientific evidence in the Apocrypha books. That's why I push the Apocrypha books, and I write insights books about all the Apocrypha books, in the hope to get people to get turned on to reading them, get inspired, start reading them, and realize what you've been taught in science and history and every bit of education is mostly totally wrong, because it doesn't take into account dimension shift, time shift, doesn't take into account hollow earth, portals, many other mysteries. Well, I notice that more and more people are becoming enlightened, have their eyes open, have their ears open, which is good to see. A lot more people asking questions now than ever before in history, so that's good. It's good to ask questions. It's a sign of intelligence to ask questions and not just take what you're spoon-fed, but ask questions. Is it true? Is it real? Like anything I say, please do question it. Bounce the ball. Is it so? Find out for yourself. You'll find it thrilling. To be an investigator, as well as being a writer, a researcher, it's a lot of fun doing things like that. And it seems to me those that write and have faith, often they stumble across things that God allows them to stumble across. And that's a whole topic in itself. I come out with a new audio soon, I'll give you the link to it, where we ourselves, we discovered something in archaeological 3.5 years ago that's amazing, something that doesn't make sense to science at all. I won't go into that now, but very thrilling. And we'll talk more about that as time goes by. But anyway, for today, thanks for listening. And hope fantastic week, okay? Have a great week. And keep believing, keep looking up, for a better world's coming. A world where there'll be no violence, no pollution, no perversion, and where people really get on together in unity and harmony. That's the world I'm fighting for. Bye for now.